I thought I'd never be able to get over my grief, but after years of research and practice, I learned to live again. You've just experienced a great loss, and a task as simple as waking up and getting out of bed can feel like you're holding up the weight of the world. Life seems different, emptier in some way that you can't quite explain and can't seem to wrap your head around. What if there were a way to completely transform your perspective and put your mind into a place where it could experience joy again? Grief can take away the control that you once had in your life before your inconceivable loss. I know. I've been there, and I've had to navigate my own way through the dark shadows of loss and sorrow. Making sense of what's going on around you, it's nearly impossible during this time, which is why you need someone to guide you back into believing in the wonders of life again. You see, it really is possible to feel joy and happiness every single day again, and without the guilt of your loss tugging at your heartstrings. This is a completely different approach to overcoming your grief, and this is also your greatest opportunity to reclaim your right to happiness. The bottom line is, this is the defining moment when you take charge of your life and let the healing begin. I want to ask you something. Do you feel like you're just going through the motions? Are you sad and often find yourself faking cordial smiles to other people throughout the day? Be honest with yourself. Grief is holding you down in life and preventing you from being part of the world. It's time to do something about it. You know that you need help, and getting better is past the point of happening on its own. Be honest with yourself. You feel stuck. I get it. I've been there. There is a way out. Transform Grief is not just a series of videos or an ebook that discusses grief. It is a realistic approach to dealing with the fundamentals of grief with care, empathy, and step-by-step proven exercises. The actionable information you're about to receive will cause a seismic shift within your approach to tomorrow. But why should you believe me? I mean, what do I have to offer? Am I a world-renowned expert on grief that's been featured on Oprah? No. I'm a grief survivor. My name is Jason Ellis, and I'm a former grief sufferer and life coach who's been working with distressed grief sufferers for the last 5 years. My journey to this profession didn't come from a calling. It came from experiencing a deeply disturbing event in my life. And my story, it almost destroyed my family. It all started on a cold winter eve with a phone call my father had made to our closest family friend of the last 35 years. He was like an uncle to me, and like a brother to my father. Although we knew he suffered from depression, we had no idea how deep-rooted the problem truly was. Instead of my father's call being answered by his lifetime friend, it was instead answered by a stranger who worked in the same office building. And before my father's confusion could fully sink in, he was informed of his beloved friend's suicide. The shock of being told that his friend had leapt to his death from the top of his company's industrial building was incomprehensible. The news was numbing, and the pain, it was unbearable. The sadness and grief that overcame our family left us completely detached from the outside world. And what's almost as painful as the loss of a loved one itself is the perceived callousness of the world around you. I mean, how can people continue to laugh and go to work? How do birds keep chirping and life seemingly doesn't skip a beat? Is there any respect for the fact that what we lived for is gone? That cruel reality was thrown in the face of my entire family overnight. And this new world, it didn't seem like one we could connect with anymore. And we began to isolate ourselves bitterly. The funeral of our friend came and went, and it could have just as well been one of us in that grave, because nobody was talking, nobody was communicating. Our grip on life and our existence as a family unit was in peril. I felt so hopeless. In times of grief, there are definitely periods of self-pity. But watching your loved ones struggle, it's almost more paralyzing. Watching my family struggle ignited a fire in me to save us all and not let our friend's death define us. There was only one problem with this. I knew absolutely nothing of grief counseling. As a matter of fact, I couldn't even think straight in the light of our recent loss. But I knew that the only way to help my family was to help myself first. So my obsession turned from the grief itself to defeating that grief in the name of my family. I didn't sleep, I just consumed myself with all things grief counseling. And you know what? It worked. Years of grief education and self-help allowed me to overcome my own grief, freeing my attention to the grief felt by my family. I began helping my family work their way back into the world again with sensitive techniques and practices that I had researched, tested, and proved for months upon months on end. I knew what would be effective for their grief therapy right out of the gate, so the results began to occur immediately. It was incredible. The introductory strategies I taught them to implement systematically isolated their emotions and rationalized them into a calmer state within minutes. And you know what? This was only the beginning. Like an effective mind machine, the system compartmentalized all of the facets of their grief on an individual basis and showed them how to execute resolution for every area. Watching them each progress and find peace was the single most rewarding experience of my life, because I knew I had given them back their lives. Perspective is a funny thing, you know? Once you know how to work with your own mindset instead of against it, you truly open the door to a life full of hope, love, and gratitude. Soon, word from my family reached friends and friends of their friends, and before I knew it, I was suddenly an unintentional grief coach. I just followed the same formula I had used on myself and my family to resolve our own feelings of grief, and the success transferred to others in the same way. People started seeing improvement from their own circumstances, and I began to receive letters of thanks from tons of individuals who were using my strategies to improve their lives. These techniques are universal in theory and fundamental in practice. They'll bring dramatic progress to anyone's current grief situation, and they apply to far more than just the passing of a loved one. It'll work for grief sufferers who have lost a friend, parent, or child. If you're heartbroken due to the end of a relationship, stress and depression induced by divorce, anxiety over past mistakes and poor decisions, if you've lost a pet and are currently in anguish, if you've been abandoned by a parent or guardian, panic and worry over the loss of a job, the lifestyle and mindset adjustment of retiring, losing your home due to disaster or financial trouble, if you've recently received news of medical misfortune, the embarrassment and pain of bankruptcy, becoming disabled or traumatically injured, the loss of a pregnancy or difficulty conceiving, and so much more. These are the methods I want to share with you in this package, Transform Grief. You'll have the opportunity to find joy again, to smile, and enjoy laughing like you haven't since your grief began. With Transform Grief, you'll get a systematic approach to replacing your grief with newfound happiness, and here's how. Your first step will be to gain an understanding that it's okay to start feeling better. Grief oftentimes makes us feel shame for being happy, and through the introduction, you'll understand that your loss doesn't mean you have to mourn for your own life. Next, I'm going to give you a detailed understanding of the 7 stages of grief and how you can navigate them in a healthy and productive manner. Conventionally, there have always been 5 stages of grief, but this adaptation will provide you with the vital turning points experienced in the journey. Forgiveness is often overlooked when discussing grief. You'll discover why and how you can forgive yourself, forgive others, and most importantly, forgive the situation that got you there. Forgiveness is for you, and it stands in the way of your ultimate happiness. You need to move on with your life. Identify the facets of your support system that will carry you back to life as you once knew it. The smile on your face will return as joy and enthusiasm become possible again. Discover the 10 powerful actions that will help you deal with your grief in a constructive and helpful manner. Each exercise in this section will bring you one step closer to the peace you strive for. It's just one foot in front of the other towards resolution. You'll also find out the 2 most important questions to answer in your grief circumstance, and those answers will guide you to the finish line, a world that you love every moment living in. It works for everyone in all situations. It's a 3-step plan. Learn, apply, and transform your grief. The bottom line is your grief can be transformed and it can be overcome. but not on your own. I've done the homework for you. I've put all of this information together. Think of it as a simple blueprint you need to follow. It's a proven process to get back to a life that you once knew and loved. I've put the last 5 years into helping others with this systematic, paint-by-numbers approach to grief, and it's helped thousands of people just like you. Feel free to scroll down and view just a handful of our latest testimonials. It contains my written manifest on grief relief in PDF form, a complete 47-minute video holding your hand through every grief-transforming action. Plus, you'll get an additional 30 minutes of supplementary MP3s. It's one of the most passive ways to start feeling better now. You can just throw on a pair of headphones and let the healing happen on autopilot. Or better yet, take a nap and listen to the audio while the recovery seeps into your subconscious. Right now, I'm offering this all-in-one grief transformation package at an extremely low price, just $27. But I can't promise it's going to remain this underpriced forever. As word of the success of this system is spreading, the demand is going up and up. That means I'm dedicating more time to your personal hand-holding customer support. And it's getting harder and harder to keep the cost so low. So make sure you act right now and get this while the deal is so great. I'm just trying to give you fair warning. This is the absolute best time to pick up your copy of Transform Grief. If you're on the fence, rest assured this program comes with a no questions asked 60-day money-back guarantee. So all the risk is completely off of you. And if for some reason you're not completely blown away by the results, simply email me for your full refund. Look, if you'd rather put off your happiness and continue dragging your feet through every day, I really can't stop you. I can only wish you the best. But if you're really interested in results and healing your grief, then this is the only system for you. Within minutes of downloading, you'll be introduced to a new way of thinking, one that will ensure your positive perspective for years to come. It's time to feel optimistic again. I can't stress enough how effective and life-changing Transform Grief has been for thousands of people just like you. This is it. This is the moment you begin the journey back to a life you love. This system will make it happen for you, or your money back. So order today and don't put your happiness off any longer. Remember, if you want to wake up looking forward to the day ahead, if you want to love life around you, you must download Transform Grief today. I can't guarantee this offer is going to still be available if you decide to leave and return to the site. Think about it. How wonderful will it be to wake up with a smile and take on the day with purpose? You really owe it to yourself to let the healing begin. Grief has held you down long enough. It's now your responsibility to let the love back into your heart. You can do it. You're stronger than you know. All you need are the right tools to set you free. I've put those tools together for you. All you have to do is take the first step. So get started today by clicking the download link below. I'll see you on the other side.